Joining me now is Maya Wiley, President and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, and Joe Conason, political columnist and author of the great new book, The Longest Con: How Grifters, Swindlers, and Frauds Hijacked American Conservatism. Quite apropos. But Maya, I'm going to start with you. The Project 2025 proposals, people really, they may not read the 900 pages, but it is frightening stuff. Talk about where you stand on it from a civil rights point of view.
Well, I have to laugh, although it's not funny at all, because if you read even just Chapter 18, which is the chapter that says we're going to get rid of Department of Education, we don't like Pell Grants, and we hate anything that's called diversity, equity, and inclusion, is a frontal attack on every civil right we have won through the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that we're celebrating its 60th anniversary. And even the president of the Heritage Foundation wanted to celebrate the Civil Rights Act of 1964 at the same time that he is standing proudly on a document that says we are going to take it all away because we think it hurts white people. When the truth is, everything we've done, every advance we've made, whether it's literally extending the life expectancy of Black Americans by 3.5, almost 4 years, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 helped do that. Increasing the size of the Black middle class, that was because of the education programs, the funding that finally said we are going to have a fairer, not fair enough, but fairer education system, and all the other things that you've said, Joy. So it's simply an attack on the civil rights that the vast majority of this country actually believes in. And what it's doing to attack it, as you said, is essentially saying we will make government ideological, and we will take the executive branch and say no matter who sits on top of it, we're going to allow that person, if it's Donald Trump, it'll be Donald Trump, to put tens of thousands of people into the federal government instead of civil servants, ideologues.
Yeah. I mean, how did we get here, Joe? I mean, I have my copy of your book, The Longest Con. I mean, I argued, I did a thing on one of my social medias where I asked somebody, just name it, stitch my video and name one thing that conservatism, whether religious or political, has ever done for people who aren't rich. Literally no one has given me not one thing that conservatism has done. So in my mind, conservatism has been fairly static. But you argue in this book that it's changed. Tell me how, and how did we get to a place where they're threatening violence if we don't let them replace civil servants with lackeys?
Well, I would say, Joy, that it's basically been taken over by con men and frauds. There are always those kinds of people around who are using conservative ideology and actually, paranoia and often hate even to draw people into right-wing movements. But mostly it's now become kind of a swindle, a con game, a way to fleece those followers out of their money. You see this all the way up to the top with Trump, who is the epitome of that kind of politics. When Trump tells a blatant lie like, I don't know anything about Project 2025, his press secretary did a recruiting video for it last year, Caroline Levitt. Yeah. And you can see it online. So, sometimes I think we'd need to sort of hook Donald Trump up to a permanent polygraph, like an IV, so you could see, in graphic terms when he's lying, because this is how they operate. And he is the past master of it. I mean, this is how we got here. His lies, the success in sort of training people on the right, those voters, to believe all kinds of stuff that's not true, and to turn over their money as they do it, to be willingly, ripped off by committees, causes, candidates, and Trump is the master of that too. He used the election, the 2020 election, which he lied about constantly, to get people to send him money. $250 million in 2 months. It was, historic.
Maya, that is an excellent point, because, I mean, you've got, like, even Stephen Miller has created his own version of what he calls a civil rights group, that all they do is raise lots of money. He's got all these videos on social media getting people to send him money so that he can sue anybody who does anything for anybody black and say that, he's like a whites rights activist, and that it's very lucrative. And yet they when they find out how unpopular the ideas are to the general public outside their bubble, they run from it. Donald Trump is claiming he doesn't know about Project 2025. I want to put on the screen Agenda 47, which is the official platform of Donald Trump's campaign. It's exactly the same. Dismantle the federal government, dismantle the administrative state, reform the DOJ, overhaul the DOJ, abolish newly existing diversity, equity, inclusion, remove all diversity, equity, inclusion. Like, it's literally the same thing, Maya, but he thinks that people are dumb enough to think if he just says he doesn't know what it is, they'll believe him.
Well, you know, what's interesting to me about Donald Trump trying to distance himself from his own platform, because even when people didn't know what Project 2025 was, he was saying all these things out loud as part of what he was running on. You know, and I just think we should remember, and it's really important to remember, this is the same Donald Trump who's now suggesting he wasn't necessarily anti-abortion when his entire platform, this goes to Joe's point, but his entire platform was he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and in fact followed the Federalist Society blueprint on judges. You know, about half of his judges were Federalist Society. It was the same thing, including the Supreme Court justices that are ignoring decades of precedent to drive ideology, including presidential immunity. I mean, all of this is a playbook. It always has been for some. And I just want to underscore one point that Joe made, because I do think it's a really important one. There was a time, you know, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 had 73 senators vote for it. There were Republicans voting for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We struggled to get one vote for Voting Rights Act in 2021. There is something that has changed, and it is wrong for the country, and it demonstrates an ideology over just sensible policymaking.
Yeah, I would say, Joy.
Let me give you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I totally agree with Maya about that. I would say this is a huge threat, not only to civil rights, but to everybody's rights of all kinds, economic rights. You know, they want to seize the power to control the budget and put it in the hands solely of the president, which would mean, you know, just destroying every program up to and including Social Security, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act. So everybody is endangered by this power grab. And, you know, there once was a type of conservatism that was, you know, it played an important part in American history and American politics. It had a kind of guardrails role for our democracy. That's not what this is anymore. And I don't call them conservatives. I don't like to call them conservatives anymore because they've dishonored that term.
Indeed. And if we had time, we would get into some of the specific ones. You had Marco Rubio, who used to call himself a conservative, J.D. Vance, who's been all over the place calling Trump Hitler, and now all of a sudden he's like, they're all baying for an opportunity to be at the table.
The difference, Joy, is now he thinks that's a compliment. You know, so
yes. You're absolutely right. Fair point. Maya Wiley, Joe Conason. Here's the book. It's called The Longest Con. Y'all pick it up. I believe it drops tomorrow. Thank you and congratulations, both of you. Thank you for both of you for being here.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn. MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.